Hello. Today, when I come to you, I want to talk about some very important things. I think they're important. Um, I want to ask ourselves, why do we tell ourselves lies and we lie to our children? This is the most commercialized holiday that we're going to have during any year. And I respect everything that it's supposed to be premised on and the foundation on which I guess it sits on. But I have to ask myself, and then I want to ask you a question. Did God make man or did man make God? That's just a question, and you can respond however the way you want to. I won't probably see it, but it's a conversation that we need to have when we talk about truth being an authority, not authority being the truth. Um, I want to know, why do we give credit to things that we do to other people? Say, for instance, this Christmas, everybody might think that I don't know about no Scrooge or anything like that. I like this part of the season. I like it for the movies that I see. I like it for sometimes the people and how they act. They want to act better, even though some people don't know how to act better, no matter what season it is. But most people try to be better during the Christmas and New Year's, so couple of days that we off in what they would call a season. But what do we tell our children? I recall somebody that was being truthful, because I'm asking you all this and I'm throwing God right in the mix, because they talk about the manger and they talk about Jesus and all of these things, right? And then, we will believe in things that we never saw in our lives. And you're supposed to believe in the things that are in your heart and your body or soul. And if you believe with all your heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit that something exists, then you latch on to it and don't let nobody dissuade you. But answer the question when they ask you, have you seen him? Have you seen any of the apostles? I mean, who was there to see these things? But I'm not here to debate religion. I'm here to talk about why we give so much credit, especially in our community, during commercialism, okay, in a holiday period, when you take money you don't have to try to please the people that you love. But you tell them it's from somebody else. And that person, to me, I know doesn't exist. But before I carry on with that, I want to say something. This reminds me of a time, because I like the way that I come to you, because it's raw. I'm older, and so I don't get into a whole lot of theatrics about certain things. I get excited, but I don't try to lie. I don't see anybody to lie to. And for the most part, I try to be as honest and truthful as I can as a human being and myself, because we all know we have our limitations. But I like not having to put on a different speech pattern, just to speak as somebody that's where I'm from, and how they speak doesn't have anything to do with your intelligence level. But sometimes we feel like we have to speak like Europeans in order to be respected and thought of, as educated. But I don't believe in all of that. And so I brought that to this conversation because where we're going next is very important to me. The thing is, why do we tell ourselves these lies? And then not only that, we tell our children the lies. I'll tell you something. First language I spoke was not even English. And not because my parents were rich or anything. No, it's just because my father was in the service. And, they had to wait till I got old enough. I was old enough to go overseas, right? And the funny part about that is we stayed over there long enough for me to learn to speak, but not to speak English. So I came back and, it was back, I was still young, and it was a time where young people couldn't just go outside the house and go wherever they wanted. They wanted to know where you were at all times. So that must have meant that I was about 3, maybe 4, I don't know. But my uncles made fun of the way I talked. And, now I sit back and I laugh and think about certain things. I laugh at the way I speak now. But it's true. I'm not trying to be anybody else, and I'm not trying to speak like nobody else. I remember I had to give a speech, and I didn't like the way that I felt compelled to give that speech because I was talking to people with PhDs and all that, and I wanted to sound like I was intelligent enough to be up there. Because our mind played tricks with us. We feel like sometimes we have to go and be something else in order to please somebody else who you're not going to please anyway. But going on, the Christmas season. I understood something when I was a little boy, and I watched my mother. I was the eldest, so I watched my mother one holiday season after everything was over, doing these index cards in her budget. And then I went back later on and I looked through it myself. And I found Santa Claus. Santa Claus was my mother and my aunts that helped my mother get the things that we wanted. And all of a sudden, things started to make sense to me that she was putting things in a layaway. You don't have that right now. They call it credit or whatever you want to talk. She called it layaway, buy it on credit, do whatever you got to do to get it to this kid for December 25th, because you told him that Santa Claus was going to come down the chimney, and most black folks didn't have any chimneys. Not when I was coming up. They might have had them way back then, but I don't see how you can have Santa Claus in a shack. That was all for people who could afford it. That might have been people from the boule. It might have been what I call rich white folks, but they might have been middle class. Whomever could afford it, it wasn't no sweat off their back. But me, watching my mom and the things that we had to go through just to make it month to month because of the things that she bought in December. And I suspect a lot of you may do the same things, and we tell our kids some of the lies that have been perpetuated over and over and over, and we carry on those lies from decade to decade, from century to century, and sometimes by the time our kids get old enough to understand it, then they take over telling the same lies to their children. Why don't you just tell them the truth? And why don't you just stay within your means? Because those children will not die if they don't get everything that they want. I had a brother that decided that he wasn't going to do that with his kids. And he just told them the truth. But sometimes if you don't want to tell yourself the truth, you act like you don't know how to tell your children the truth, because you know everybody else is going to have on December 25th, and you don't want your children to be left out. Instead of making them leaders when they're small and having to endure the truth so that they'll learn how to speak the truth and know truth when they hear it. But you have to do that for them. This is, I would love to have been able to talk to children and talk to them with their parents, okay, to tell them the truth of there's no Easter bunnies and all of these other made-up holidays that your parents go out here and do things that sometimes they can't even afford to do. They do it anyway to please you. And you play with those toys or some of the things that they give you for maybe a day or two, maybe a week. If you're lucky, a month. Unless it was a bike or something, and you can move, then you can travel and go around, do things that your parents didn't even want you to do. So you might have taken advantage of that, a car. But most people couldn't just go out and buy kids no car. So they put themselves in a hole. They put themselves with an extra bill to pay for your car and insurance. And they don't tell you the truth of the finances and things because they don't want you to worry. But I said, you know what? Children need to worry sometimes about what their parents are going through so they'll understand the living situation much better. But this is just my take on that. You have to do what you want to do. If you want to put yourself in a hole for a whole year trying to please, sometimes kids don't even know what they want. They see things on TV. That's the commercialism of it all. You understand? And the fact that you need to be a parent, sometimes they don't need a Barbie doll or some of the things that you may get them. They need a book. They need better education. They need your love. They need you there. Instead of working overtime to try to pay for what you got in December, bring your behind home and spend your time with your kids. And I'm not preaching to you because it's hard enough. But another thing I wanted to get to before I get my 10 minutes out from TikTok is that we need to do more about learning how to help and maybe do things for others and see the world in a much different way, because we've turned out to be some very selfish people. In fact, we imitate the same people that have done some wrongs to us. And all people have done wrongs to other people, but this has been a different type of wrong, okay? Some of the things that have gone on, especially in our Black communities, and what happened to our people is a little bit too much. And we think that we are out of a period of slavery, but the plantations are just turned into companies and corporations, and you're working harder than ever. It's not in the fields, it's not in a big house, but you're working at your job 60, 70, 80 hours. So tell me, how much time does that leave you to be with your kids and your family? And you tell me what that is. Does does that look like the good life to you? Is that what the middle class has to do? I mean, the lower class have always done that. But I wanted to talk about, I thank my subscribers. I really do. Because you've made a choice. And most people, when they make a choice, sometimes you're not going to like all my videos. Nobody, may like all of them, but you've made a choice to follow me. And what I like about it is, I don't ask for any money or anything else. So the only way that you can truly support me in this stage of my viewership is to subscribe. You can like and so forth, but are you really helping me with likes? I I question myself, I like you, but I don't know you. So the only way that I could really get to know you or get to see how you really feel about me is through subscriptions, okay? Which will allow me to deal with them and them to deal with me in a way that I may be able to start accumulating things that I can do something for others or for our people. And you have to start off small sometimes, but I just got through looking at something that Snoop Dogg dealt with. And, I don't listen to his music or anything else, but I know who he is. And he just bought a plane, and he was thinking about what that plane could do, not for his career, but how he could help people and go to places that he couldn't just normally go on a commercial flight. And then the way commercial flights are going these days, who in the hell wants to do that, even for their own personal travel? So for business, who's going to subject themselves to that type of treatment? Because a lot of black celebrities, artists, sports people, Big Shaq, Steph Curry, and a lot of other people. I mean, they got people out there, and I'm going to tell you, Europeans that tell them they ain't got no business being in business class. It's like the back of the bus stuff again. They don't want you nowhere around them. You see, they're still talking about go back to Africa. And here, we've been fighting by their side. They don't appreciate anything that you do. We've been fighting by their side ever since before the American Revolution. But we also know that one of the first people killed in war when Europeans and black folks had to fight together against the British and everything else, Tea Party action and all of that, one of the first people to die was a black man, Didn't die for his people, he died for this country. And so with World War I and World War II, black veterans doing the same thing, and they could not come back here and live and get housing for the people that they were fighting for. They didn't want them around them. So all I'm trying to tell you in this is that, and I don't know how this is coming off because I don't write nothing down. I let my spirit speak to me, and I say the things that just, come to me because I want to do this honestly and truthfully, and hey, you get what you get, and I'm good with that. And if you're not, I understand. But I've been looking at a lot of videos and everything else, and I see a lot of people, like they tell me sometimes, hey, take these classes and, make these big pretty photos and put the music to it because that's what they like. Well, if y'all like that, I understand you. Hey, do what you do. But that's not me. Not right now. I want to tell you the truth as I see it. I've never been able to express myself. and hope that in turn you will do the same with me. Okay? Now, I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible because I had some things that I really wanted to tell you, and this is the type of season where we really need to look at ourselves and what we are telling our children and what we are becoming, because what I see is things that are not doing us any good, but it takes out of our pocket and profits the people that already have money. And you do it for a felonious reason because you tell people, or they say that, oh, on the 25th, Santa Claus is going to come down your chimney and he's going to bring you the things that you want. You know who your Santa Claus is? Your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your aunts, your uncles, your brother, your sister. There is no fat man coming down there. And I told him, I said, I wish I would catch somebody coming down my chimney. You understand? Because he would be breaking the law, but he would be also breaking my home rules, and you would have to pay. Love your children, tell them the truth. Don't let them live with the lies that we've had to live with, okay? And most of the time, most kids, they would rather have you than a present, So that's all I got. I mean, I really had my mind on saying some different things, but I just had to get that out because this commercialism is killing the Black community. It takes so much money out of the community that you don't have none to put into the community. And that's a problem because in capitalism, economics matter. So if you don't have any economic foundation or a plan, then you're going to always be stuck in that last place. Now, we spend over $1 trillion a year. So that means that all that money is going out of our community. How much is coming in? You got everybody in the community have a business but us in our community. And that's not by some kind of accident. They want the money to flow out of the Black community. They want it in the shape that it's in, and they want us in the shape that we are in. So please take a look at that. I hope you got something out of that. And I really thank y'all subscribers. And yes, I recognize likes and everything else. But I can tell you this, in a relationship, if somebody likes you, then you need to keep them at a distance. Because most of the time, you need to be around people that love you, that's going to make a decision, you understand? And that if they support you, they're going to support you in a meaningful way. I wish y'all the best in this holiday time. I'm not about no Merry Christmas and all of that stuff there, but I do like for people to try their best to be better in these times, because it does feel a little special sometimes when everybody's smiling and laughing instead of shooting and killing. Thank you.